We come to the next problem, and that is the problem of anthropology. Who are we? What are we? We all admit, that is, pagans and Israelites, the same thing. The human being is, well, from the biblical point of view, the human being is an animal with a spark of God. Now, the biblical story speaks about the creation of the human being, and then speaks about the human being acquiring intelligence. The intelligence, by the way, is equated with divine intelligence. Nothing wrong with that. Because if we have an intelligence which is basically infinite, then we're approaching a divine quality. Of course, we don't have the other part of it, because the truly divine is intelligent and eternal. We are intelligent, and we're going to drop dead. So there's a big difference. And in a sense, that's the human dilemma, that is being aware that we have a hand reaching up to infinity, and the fact that our minds are infinite, and a leg tied down to the earth, dragging us down. So we're in between. That, of course, is the beginning of all human problems. So the biblical story says we acquired intelligence. Symbolically, I mean, you can put it in trees and fruits and so on. Don't mention apples. They don't appear anyplace. No. Read the text. There's no apple in the Garden of Eden. So people say it was an apricot. It doesn't. It's a symbolic idea. You know, according to the pagans, that's not the way human beings evolved. According to the pagans, it's a totally different story. According to the Greeks and the Babylonians and all the others, we are descended from the gods. So we start out as gods, and then for some reason or other, we fail, or we fall, or we are trapped, or we are tricked, and bingo, we become flesh and blood human beings. But who are our ancestors? The gods. So when you have the genealogy of the Greeks, it's very interesting. The genealogy of the Greeks starts out with an older god of the father of the gods, Iapetos. These are called by the Greeks the Titans. The Titans come before Zeus and Hera and Apollo. They're the way beyonds. So there's a Iapetos, and then Iapetos has a descendant, Prometheus, and Prometheus already displays certain human qualities, such as he's going to cheat and rob. It's a human quality. And then Prometheus has a son, and his name is Deucalion. Oh, and by the way, Deucalion has a wife, and she has a name, so we might as well list her. Deucalion and Pyrrha. And Deucalion and Pyrrha have a certain uniqueness. They survived the flood. But you see, according to the Greeks, when they survived the flood, they came and there was the earth and it was dry, and they looked around there. Hey, just you and me. Where's the rest? There are no rest. What are we going to do? So they hear a voice saying, well, create your descendants. As you walk along the path of life, pick up stones and throw them over your shoulder. And every stone that Deucalion picked up, as he hit the ground, it became a man. And Pyrrha picked up a stone and hit the ground and became a woman. And as they're walking, all of a sudden, population begins to increase behind their backs. Well, that's Greek mythology. They couldn't quite get around to that problem. But Deucalion has a son, and his name is Helenos. Who's Helenos? Helenos means the Greek. So Helenos is the father of the Hellenes. The Hellenes are the Greeks. How did the Greeks come into existence? Descended from the gods. By the way, Mr. Homer, what about those other guys? Where'd they come from? Well, they came from their own gods. So Belus is the father of the Phoenicians, and Aegyptus is the father of the Egyptians, and so on. Interesting. According to the pagans, every people, every nation, every race has its own origin in the gods. Biblical view says, nonsense. All human beings are one species descended from one family, and all human beings on earth are related, one origin. We'll symbolically call the father and mother Adam and Eve, but that's another story. And after the flood, we'll call the father and mother Noah and his wife, I don't have her name, Mrs. Noah, and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and they are married, and they have wives. So the biblical story says, we got to make this logical, that these were human beings, men and women, and after the flood, they started to get to work, and their children were born, and then we have all the nations of the world emerging out of one family, and the original human beings are the ancestors of all humanity. So there's no such thing as you came from one God and I came from another God. Nothing. No, the biblical writer says we're all one family. He was a radical. The author of Genesis, absolutely radical.